I'm going to share the best foundations for every type of finish. Rather than focusing on your skin type, I really wanted to focus on what type of finish you want and what kind of technique you use. So for example, a Barely There foundation, the best foundation to use for the underpainting technique, the best light foundation, like daytime foundation, everything you can think of, I've got it covered in this video. I want you to know that I've used all of these foundations and not just once. I have used them repeatedly because I also love these kind of finishes that I'm going through, and I kind of alternate my techniques and the kind of finish I want. So I alternate with these foundations. I've tried so many for all of these different finishes, and these are the best that I have found. They work so well on the skin, they blend perfectly, they sit perfectly on the skin, and they look just so good on the skin. So I'm super excited to share this. First off, we're going to start with Barely There foundation. Now this look is generally where you don't want it to look like it's overly heavy. You want it to look like it's basically barely there. Now the best foundation for this is the Makeup Forever HD Skin Hydra Glow. This foundation is so good for that barely there look. I also feel like the shade range is very, very good. I don't feel like it's that difficult to find your color. It can sometimes be a bit overwhelming with any foundation when they have so many shades. At the end of the day, if you want the right type of color, if you want your skin color to be catered for, then you're gonna have a large variety to choose from. So I do feel like it's very easy to find your shade because they do kind of finish off the shade range with like an N or a Y, or they start it with that, just so that you know like whether it's neutral or yellow or warm. So it's pretty easy. I feel like most brands kind of do it this way anyway, but this is a really good fluid foundation. It's not overly drippy either. So I do like the fact that even though it is a Barely There foundation, like you genuinely feel like you can see your skin. It's quite undetectable, and I feel like they say that on their ad campaign too, that is an undetectable foundation, and I really do feel that that is the truth, because when you put it on and you apply a thin layer, as long as you kind of really buff it into the skin, you don't really see that you're wearing foundation. Your skin just looks healthier, it looks like a better version, and you can't see any foundation sitting on the skin. So this is a foundation I think you're gonna love. It genuinely does tick all the boxes when it comes to a Barely There look, and I also feel like it doesn't feel heavy on the skin. It literally feels like you're not wearing anything. So I know you're gonna love that one. Next up is the daytime foundation. And what I mean by that is basically a foundation that you can wear during the day, something which is not overly heavy, but not overly too light. It still gives you a nice flawless look. And it's just like, it's like wearing casual clothes throughout the day. It's like, if you wanna wear something which is comfortable, looks good, but doesn't look OTT, this is the foundation that I would recommend. This is the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation. This foundation is just generally a good all-rounder. I feel like, again, it is a fluid foundation, but again, not too drippy. It doesn't like just drip off. Some foundations are so fluid that it's just annoying because it kind of can end up going everywhere. And I feel like this is just a really good consistency. I feel like all of these foundations are good consistencies. So this foundation is very good at just giving a flawless look, which 100% is not heavy, by the way. I would say one coating, like one layer, is good enough. You can build it up if you do want more coverage, but I do feel like this foundation is a good foundation that doesn't make your skin look dry. It looks good throughout the day as well. It doesn't look heavy. It doesn't look like I've got a whole load of foundation on. It's quite hydrating for the skin too. So I feel like you get what you want from this. And there's a reason that everyone loves this foundation. And I always find that when you hear about people talking about this foundation, you don't get anything specific about this foundation. And that generally is because it's a good all-rounder. It's a good all-round foundation that ticks all the boxes and is just perfect for daytime. So this is a foundation that if you want to wear something to work or just casually during the day, I feel like this is just going to give you everything you need. Next up is evening glam. So for evening glam, you generally want something which is quite kind of good coverage, gives you that amazing like flawless airbrushed look. That's ultimately what we want for evening glam, right? Because it's a little bit darker. We do want our skin to look good in any kind of light, but also you can get away with a little bit more foundation or a little bit more kind of coverage. So for that, I would recommend the KVD Good Apple Serum Foundation. This genuinely is such a good foundation. You get a good shade range in this. I do feel like I have to sometimes mix my shades depending on whether I'm tanned or not, but ultimately this is a foundation that is going to give you the most flawless finish, and it's just really easy to apply as well. So when you do apply it, you can apply it with either a brush or you can apply it with a sponge. I personally love applying it with a brush because it really kind of like gets into the skin. I do feel like with this foundation, you do need to make sure that you hydrate very well underneath. So use a good nourishing, hydrating moisturizer and then follow up with a good hydrating primer. Not because I feel this is too dry. I feel like with any kind of evening glam, good, flawless, airbrushed looking foundation, you need good hydration for the evening. This foundation is a little bit more kind of like thick in terms of consistency, but it is really, really easy to blend in and the coverage that you get immediately is insane. This is a foundation that lasts all day. My skin without fail will look flawless with this foundation. I do feel like it works really well with other products too. So like setting it is really easy too. It doesn't look cakey. So even though you get that really nice full coverage look with this, it doesn't look cakey at all. This is the foundation I would recommend for like an evening glam full coverage look. I get asked about this finish so much, like which is the best foundation for underpainting, because especially people who haven't really done underpainting that long or are new to it, it can be a bit difficult to understand which foundation is the best. I know I keep always preaching about how you should be using a light to medium coverage foundation, but a lot of the time people don't know what that foundation is. Like they know they need to use that, but like they'll come across foundations like, yeah, but what are you? Are you light? Are you medium? Are you full? What are you? So I'm going to tell you what is the best foundation for the underpainting technique, and that is the NARS Sheer Glow foundation. This foundation is just so good for this type of technique because you get that really nice kind of light to medium finish. It's not heavy. It is a little bit more drippy in terms of texture, like consistency, sorry. It's just so good at working with your concealer when you are underpainting, because underpainting is basically where you have all of your concealer on underneath, like no foundation, and then you can add like things like a liquid blush, cream bronzer, cream contour, and then you go over with a foundation which is quite light to medium finish. The underpainting technique will not work if you use a full coverage foundation, because what you're ultimately doing is just covering all of that really good kind of underpainting that you've done. So you do want something which is a very sheer foundation, and that's what this is. And I know you're gonna love this, so make sure that you use this for your underpainting technique, because I've had so many questions about this. Honestly, this is the best one you want to go for. It's super easy to blend in. Even if you want to use this without underpainting, it is a really, really good foundation. Like it does give you that really nice kind of flawless finish. For underpainting, I always end up going for this one. I just feel like it works well with that technique. It's so good at like layering as well if you want more coverage from this foundation. And the shade range is really easy to choose from too. Next up is a matte finish foundation. Now, ultimately a matte finish is obviously, as the name suggests, it is matte. So you're not going to see any shine, you're not going to see any kind of glow. It gives a really nice matte finish. And the best foundation that I've been using for years for this type of finish is the Dior Forever foundation. This foundation is so good for a matte finish. Now, I started using this when it first came out because I feel like this was the revamped version, I feel like. So this is the Dior Forever matte foundation. They do have a Dior Forever glow foundation. I personally prefer this when it comes to a matte foundation. This ticks every box. The great thing is about this is it is infused with skincare ingredients. So it has floral skincare ingredients in there, which initially when I first started using it, I honestly thought to myself, I don't know if this is going to sit well on the skin. How is my skin going to react to this? I'm not too sure about this. Is it just all a big hype and that's it? But no, it is absolutely amazing. And I know that since I started using this, so many foundations have kind of like come out with skincare ingredients infused in there. And this is, I think this is the OG, to be honest. I remember when that started, this is the first one that I heard about which had skincare ingredients in there, and they really focused on mentioning that. And it genuinely is so good. Not only does this keep your skin looking matte all day, it's flawless, it gives amazing coverage, but you can lighten it up if you want to, just by using a little bit less or mixing it in with like a moisturizer or mixing it with your primer. It works really well that way too. But if you want ultimately a matte finish, use this on its own on top of your primer. But later on in the day, even though my skin is staying kind of like looking matte, my skin doesn't look bad. You know, sometimes you have that horrible finish to your skin later in the day where you start to see all the pores and you're like, oh, it just looks horrible. It looks like you've had it on for hours. You don't get that with this. This somehow helps to like avoid your skin looking bad later in the day, even though it's like a really good coverage and matte finish. Your skin doesn't look cakey. It just looks perfectly really matte, honestly. This is a foundation I know you're gonna love. Next up is a type of finish that I didn't think I would ever like, but over the last few months, I have absolutely loved this finish. And this is the illuminating finish. So this is a foundation that basically gives you that illuminated look to your skin. I also didn't know how a brand would be able to do this, because wouldn't it just kind of be classed as a glowy foundation? But no, this foundation literally swept me off my feet. I absolutely love it, and I didn't think I would ever be wearing this finish, but I love it so much. This is the Christian Louboutin Fluid Foundation. It is a bit expensive, but honestly, I love it. It's such a good foundation. Honestly, it does genuinely give you that illuminated look. Love how much coverage this gives you. It's a medium to full coverage foundation, and somehow it makes your skin literally look like it's lit from within. Like, that statement has never been so perfect for a foundation. This is the one that deserves that tagline, because I've heard this on so many other foundations, like, oh, it gives you that lit from within glow. No way. No. Hands down, this is the one you want for that lit from within glow. It isn't like, you don't get, is this just like weird pigment in there, which when you look close up, you can't see it. You can't see that kind of pearlescent pigment. It's not pearlescent, it's like, I don't know how to describe it, but honestly, when you put this on and you're like, you look at your skin, you're like, I literally look like there's a light bulb under my skin. It looks so good. Honestly, this foundation is such a good foundation for illuminated skin. It's so easy to blend in. You don't need a lot of it. It sits perfectly on the skin. Your skin looks amazing later on in the day too, and the coverage is amazing. So you get flawless skin and an illuminated finish. It's absolutely amazing, this foundation. Next is the glowy finish. Now, ultimately, this is, like the name suggests, quite a glowy foundation. Some people call it like more of a dewy finish. The foundation that I love for this is the MAC Studio Radiance foundation. It's a serum powered foundation, so it is packed full of skincare ingredients, which is very good for your skin at the same time. So you don't have to worry about your skin kind of like feeling or looking worse over time. If you keep using this foundation, it states that your skin does improve in terms of like the texture of your skin. Now, this foundation is a quite a fluid finish, and it's very easy to apply. I do feel like this gives a great glowy finish though. So like, even if you apply it with your brush and really kind of buff it into the skin, it gives a really nice healthy glow, but not overly kind of like shiny, if that makes sense. You can set it with powder as well if you want. Personally, I would recommend setting this on the under eyes, like with your concealer, but everywhere else, I would kind of just dust the powder on very lightly, because it does give a really, really beautiful glow. Those are the best foundations for every type of finish. This video is a little bit different because usually we talk about skin types, but I wanted to really address the different finishes that people kind of want to go for regardless of your skin type. And yeah, I think this is a whole load of foundations that I think you're gonna love, and I use them all the time. I alternate between these depending on what finish I want. And yeah, I'm super excited for you guys to kind of like get whichever one takes your fancy. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments box below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button so that you don't miss any of my future videos. Until the next video, take care, and I'll see you soon.